Hey friends, welcome to my laundry room and pantry. Today I'm just filming kind of a quick day in the life. I desperately need to tackle my laundry room and I need to reorganize and purge some things in my pantry, as well as, I don't know if you saw my preparation for week 2 video for the pantry and freezer challenge, but there is kind of a mystery box of miscellaneous things in my pantry and I don't even know what's in there because there are a few large things on top covering up the ingredients inside. So I'm going to check that out and kind of update my inventory as far as things that I want to use for preparing for week 3. So I'd love for you to join me. I'm just telling you right now, my laundry room is somewhat embarrassing, not necessarily this stuff. On top of our large freezer, we've got our air fryer. My grain mill is back there in the back. One of our pressure canners and my largest Instant Pot. I have a 10 quart and an 8 quart. And let me tell you, those are hard to figure out where to store because they're extremely heavy. You don't want to have to get them off of a top shelf somewhere. So I keep the large one in here. On top of our small freezer, we have less space, but somehow more stuff. This is one of our egg containers that we use to store our farm fresh eggs. There's a whole stack of large bowls, which again, those are hard to figure out where to store. I would say I use this one most often. I believe this is a 13 quart, yeah. And it's just an old big mixing bowl from Sam's. So I think I'm going to leave this here and find another place for these baskets in this giant 20 quart bowl. We also keep our Vitamix over here. And there's some random things back there like dog leashes and a harness for our big dog and a broken bracelet of my daughter's. There's a whole bunch of laundry to do, but we will tackle that, and it's a beautiful day outside. It's very cold, but it's sunny and a little bit breezy, which is the perfect time to hang clothes out on the line. So we've got a whole queue of laundry waiting. But thankfully, my Speed Queen is able to do loads in about 30 to 40 minutes. So we're gonna work our way through those. My husband was cleaning out things out back and found one of our son's hammocks. So that needs to work its way through the wash. This is an old succulent that is completely dead. Like this all just lifts right off. I can keep the outside things alive. I'm not so good with the inside things. This is actually a bag of grits that is kind of long since expired. I think it expired at the beginning of last year. And we did make a small batch with it, and it just tasted a little off. Not like rotten or anything like that, but it was not good. So we are going to cook these up in nothing but water and let them cool and throw them to our chickens so that it is not wasted. Chickens love corn. The microwave is not looking bad at all. I think I just cleaned it out last week, so we don't really use it that often. This is a dried out bean pod that has pole bean seeds inside. So, oh, there's another one. I think I had these up here, but today I am going to open those up and store the seeds because it's almost time to plant them again. All right, here is a pencil. I will go ahead and put back where it belongs. And a fly swatter. No, actually, 2 fly swatters. Flies are rampant on the farm. Go ahead and put these somewhere for now. All right, this bench, as much as I love it, is kind of the bane of my existence in this room. The Clever Crate typically goes behind the door in our pantry because we don't have to use it very often, once or twice a month, so I need to put that away. I'm gonna bring that basket out to my greenhouse because that is typically just a produce basket that I bring out to the garden during harvesting. This is a borrowed pressure canner from my neighbor, which I can't even tell you how long it took my husband and I to figure out how to use it. It is very old, it's fantastic, but it's just very different from what, how you work mine. I'm not sure what that is. I'll have to check it out. There's an extension cord that needs to go back in the shed. 2 space heaters that we borrowed from neighbors when our pipes were frozen last month. Another bag that I need to look through. That is my little one's bike helmet. And then check this out. Goggles and 2 more pairs of goggles. Why? Why are there goggles out in the middle of winter? 2 lunch boxes, some glass cleaner, and a beautiful little basket of eggs. And then of course there's always quite a variety of shoes under here that need to be cleaned off and put back where they belong. Lots of mess. Lots of mess. And then the pantry. The floor is usually the worst. So that basket down there has sweet potatoes in it from the garden. There's also sweet potatoes in this bowl from the garden. We've got winter squash. This is primarily Trim Healthy Mama ingredients that were in my kitchen in a drawer, and they don't get used that often, so I decided to move them to a different spot. But I need to get the lid on that and find a shelf to put it on, not the floor. This little area over here on the side has some like old towels that we use for the dogs now, and some foil pans that need to go on a shelf. Just lots of things that I need to find a better home for. These were just placed in here in a hurry. This is an attachment it's like a shredder slicer attachment for my KitchenAid. This was a spare box of cake mix from the twins' birthday. None of these things belong in this spot, so I would like to just get better organized. The dog food, I'm 99% sure can go out to the greenhouse. We have airtight containers that we can fit a 50-pound bag in. And then I'm pretty sure because the greenhouse is watertight, we can put the other one out there on a shelf. There's some onions on the floor, vinegar, bottled water, Pine Sol, just lots of random stuff. These are screw-on plastic lids that have little plastic gaskets or rubber gaskets, which are super handy when you're just like wanting to store, I don't know, like homemade salad dressing and things like that. There are things over here that need to be gotten rid of. I haven't used a springform pan in probably 10 years. I don't know that I've ever used a bundt pan. So those are going to Goodwill. I don't need to keep things that we don't use. This is my mother-in-law's little, I believe it's a 6-quart electric pressure cooker that can go in the attic. And then here is my mystery basket or box. I am going to sort through that stuff and see what we've got going on and what we can use up throughout the pantry challenge. And then also in a couple days, I will be filming my planning for week 3 video for the pantry and freezer challenge. That seemed to be a hit with you guys when I posted a planning for week 2 video. I think it just helps to see how we each choose to use up what we've got in the pantry. All right, let's get to work. I have to bite off these kind of projects a little bit at a time, or I can just get overwhelmed with where to put all the stuff that has been where it doesn't belong for so long. So I'm keeping this laundry going. The dryer isn't finished yet, so I just put wet clothes on top of the dryer and we'll just wait. As you can see, I am just moving things off the bench, hopefully putting them where they belong. I'm collecting a pile on the back table on the deck that need to go back to neighbors, like the pressure canner and some space heaters. My goal is to get everything cleaned off so I can clean the bench and get ready to move things out of the pantry that don't belong. I just am kind of going from one mess to another, and it gets a little worse before it gets better. Time to check out the mystery box. Okay, what do we have in this mystery box from the pantry? We've got 2 containers of chow mein noodles from August of 2022. I would definitely still use these. Neither of them have been opened. Hold on, my washer is screaming at me. Hopefully you can still hear me over my washing machine. This is a jar of barley, quick cooking barley from my minestrone in a jar soup mix that I keep in my pantry. This is what it looks like. It's beautiful, it's delicious, and I like to keep 4 to 6 of these in the pantry at all times, especially during the winter. They also are great gifts, and this feeds 8 to 10 people. One little jar. I have never tried to make anything else with barley, so I might try some of the things on the back of this box. Either way, I'm going to use those up Or again, these are good grains to cook and give to my chickens. They don't necessarily have to be cooked either, but I might. Here's another thing of chow mein noodles that have not been opened. So I'm gonna figure out something to do with these. There is no recipe suggestion on these containers, so I'll have to look something up. This is like 1 cup of arborio rice, which is risotto. So I can definitely use that in a recipe. An entire container of pearl couscous, or otherwise known as Israeli couscous. I will use this in a side dish with some vegetables, maybe some peas and carrots. Cranberry sauce. I mentioned in my planning for week 2 video that I have a really good recipe for grandma's chicken and dressing. It tastes like Thanksgiving in a crock pot, and I always serve it with some cranberry sauce. So I think this is beckoning me to make this during week 3. And I have a few other cans of this in the pantry, so I'm going to let this one join its sisters. This has a Best Buy date of just a few months ago, and it is Southern Hush Puppy Mix with onion. I've never made hush puppies. I think my parents bought this when we went to the beach one year and we didn't end up using it. So this would be really fun to make. Maybe I will make fish one night and we can have hush puppies with our fish. Well, I take that back. I don't have any fish, so I might have to do something else, chicken. But we can definitely use this. These are sweetened dried cranberries that are feeling rather stiff. It says to use them by 12/22, so they're only a couple weeks past their Best Buy date. The generic ones I have found are always a little drier than like the Craisin brand. So anyway, maybe I will put these in some broccoli salad or chicken salad over the next week or so. And then the only other 2 things in here are wide mouth lids that have not been opened, and markers for my garden, which I found that these were not very good markers. Plant markers. I use a Sharpie on them, and the sun fades the Sharpie away within a couple weeks. So it would be helpful to find a more effective plant marker for the garden for this year. But that is it for this box, and I think I'm going to throw this in the pile that will end up in my garden. I don't want to put it back in the pantry so that I can fill it with more miscellaneous items. My goal with the pantry was just to start with the floor items and then go shelf by shelf, putting things back where they belong and pulling a few things out that are well past their date or have been open. For example, these 2 boxes of generic rice checks had about a cup or 2 left at the bottom of the box, and I'm just going to toss those to the chickens. I've got other boxes fresh in there. I also just put things back and organized a little bit better, putting like things together. All right, it took me about an hour to get the entire laundry room and pantry cleaned up and tidied. I put a bunch of stuff on my island. I think that's what I'm going to do every week, is pull things out of the freezer that I want to get used up and put it in the kitchen. Just kind of push it over to a corner. Otherwise, out of sight, out of mind. If I don't pull it out of the pantry, I still forget to use it, even in the midst of the pantry challenge. So there's the cranberry sauce I was referencing earlier. I got all of this tidied up. I made room for the winter squash on the shelf and moved our French fry slicer down there next to the dried pinto beans. Just kind of tidied all of this up. This is where those towels and foil pans were. The floor looks much better. I swept. I went ahead and combined the sweet potatoes, the tiny ones that were in the bowl, into this basket. And these might end up being my seed potatoes for the garden this year. I've got quite a few that are starting to sprout, so we can just make slips from the tiny potatoes that are left over from last year. I gotta wait till my son gets back from driver's ed before I decide to do something with this dog food. I have a feeling there was a reason it was in here. I think it was much more convenient to refill the dog bowls if it's in the house versus outside. I got all of this tidied up. If you remember, this is where that miscellaneous box of items sat previously, and we have emptied it out, thrown the box in the garden pile, and we're gonna work our way through this stuff. I'm telling you what, this is gonna end up being my favorite pantry challenge year ever. In previous years, I've made it more about how long can we survive with just the things in the pantry and freezer, and haven't necessarily allowed myself to go to the store for anything. But this year, being more intentional about simply using the things that we have that we are not using very often or even at all, and just being intentional to be good stewards of all the food that we've got in our pantry, and to be rotating and using it all and getting creative with my meal planning. I'm really enjoying it. It's going to be a huge blessing to my family, and I'm loving seeing this pantry get more organized. I look forward to doing the same with the freezers. Now, my washing machine is done. It's time to go hang those towels out on the clothesline. I hope you guys have a fantastic day. Thanks for watching.